Buckle up, everybody. FAFSA from hell.
Get your seatbelt. No, take a deep breath. Everything's going to be fine. That's my talk track. It's all good. You got us. You'll be fine.
We have the answers.
Actually, if you follow our flow, it flies. If you know what's going to bum out the FAFSA and you don't do that, I think it's working pretty well.
It's had a
But
good week.
if you bum it out, then you're in a whole bunch of heartache for sure.
Yes, it's a touchy one this year. Very touchy.
It has its own little personality.
Sensitive. Cool. Welcome, everybody. Tell us where you're from, where are you tuning in from, and then we're going to assume it's mostly class 2024 folks, but confirm or deny that for us. Tell us if we're 24 or
yeah, if we have any parent of a sophomore,
yes.
anybody who's just really trying to learn.
Nice, New Mexico. We like that. Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, the 24s are taking it on the chin a little bit for you all underclassmen as this new system figures gets through the kind of major glitches here. So hopefully you guys, nobody's losing their mind too much. You haven't smashed too many computers yet, is our hope, but or haven't been waiting too long, on hold, trying to get through to the Department of Education, waiting for a response back. They're obviously completely overwhelmed. But that's why we're here tonight. Hopefully that's why you're here tonight. A theme you're going to hear throughout is that this FAFSA in the back end has been kind of broken, for lack of a better word, to put it very simply. A bunch of times over in a bunch of different places. All that is to say, it's probably not you. Right? If you feel like you're screwing this up and you're the idiot here or whatever, that's very likely not the case, right? This has just been a challenge this year if some of you are living and breathing in the moment. So again, I think by the time you leave here, 50 minutes from now, you're going to feel like you get your arms totally around it. If you've submitted the FAFSA, you're going to learn some things. If you haven't, you're going to learn some things. Doesn't really matter where you are on that spectrum. So by way of relatively quick introduction, because again, we want to get through all this tonight. My name's Matt Carpenter. I'm the founder of College Aid Pro. Been doing this class 2025. I saw 2025 will be my 20th class that I've guided through this process. So like to think there's a meaningful amount of experience there. I've seen close to it all. I think I've seen close to it all. And I just feel very fortunate to be in this position, still being able to guide families through what can be a really overwhelming, really stressful process. If you're experiencing that on some level, welcome to the party. That makes a ton of sense. That's just a natural part of this experience, I think. So, and we try to do our best to alleviate that. Obviously, we want to help families save money and frustration, and just hopefully help you enjoy the last year, maybe, with your kids at home every day. So anyways, that's a little bit about me, a little bit about us. You're probably even in better hands with my partner in crime, Peg Keogh here. Peg is not only who I consider to be one of the top experts you're going to find in this space, but she's been where you are. She's put her twins through college, and she's the fairy godmother of financial aid as a result. So Peggy, I'll let you say hi and we'll
Yeah. My background is in the financial industry, and probably like a lot of you, when my twins hit high school, it kind of really, it's real, right? Your kid's in high school now, got to really start thinking about not the saving part, but how does this whole thing work? And that's when I decided to focus exclusively on this piece years ago and started my own business and knew the guys at CAP, beta tested their software, got to know them really well. And long story short, a couple of years ago, I joined CAP. God, before you know it, it'll be 3 years. I won't say a couple, but yeah, I'm the director of education. That's really what I do. I'm an educator. I love this part. I love helping all of you understand this, relieve stress. As Matt said, my best credential, I've been through this ×2 at the same time. And doesn't have to be so crazy. Even with all this FAFSA stuff, it's not your problem. Most of it is the Department of Ed's problem, right? So don't take it on as your problem. I was with the dad earlier today and he's like, I really want to swear. I'm like, just swear. I don't care. Let it out and just get it out, put it aside, and you're all good, right? We're just going to navigate this. And there's new things that have just come out in the news that it's like, oh, they're going to fix this and that could slow everything. But again, nothing you all can do about it. So just take a deep breath. And tonight we'll go through a lot of stuff. As Matt said, if you've already done your FAFSA, you might learn some stuff and that's valuable. There are corrections, they're just not available now. And then if you haven't, this will be very good for you to really see best practice, because Matt and I have been in hundreds of these. Our team has literally been in thousands and thousands of these. So we know what makes it break and how to tweak this stuff. So, and we're going to hit that even more detailed tomorrow night. So even get in the weeds, because our mandate tonight is a little bit different. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. We'll do our best. We have a lot of people on here, so we won't get to all the questions. Hopefully you're showing up with gratitude of being here and learning all this stuff and realizing we're doing our best. If we don't get to your question, we're going to talk about at the end how we can further support you. So definitely hang on to the end. We are very aware of time and we respect your time. So we'll wrap up within the hour for sure. So yeah, we'll remind you if you put stuff in the chat to just pop it over to the Q&A. You can be anonymous. So let me share my screen and let's get this show on the road. Okay. So some of you are probably new. We didn't ask. Usually we ask, who's a newbie, who's been on our webinars before. But if you're brand new to us, welcome. And we're College Aid Pro. And this truly is our mission and the student debt crisis by empowering you to shop smarter for college. And the way that happens is you learning and being a part of this process, like all in and owning it, or just understanding the steps. It's just wherever you are, and we can support you along the way, depending on how much you want to do a deep dive. Because you will be so far ahead of the game if you know, honestly, anything. Because the colleges, a lot of parents don't know much and really drift through, and then the colleges are in the driver's seat across the board. So there we are, the happy couple.
Those two young lovers, huh?
So everybody got an email today from us. If you've already set up your account, awesome. If you haven't, Matt's going to put this link in the chat, mycap.collegeapro.com. We highly recommend you do this. It takes about 4 minutes. If you've done it, awesome. Have it set up on the side, because right away, we're going to give you very quick mock 10 like overview of financial aid, because if you don't understand this, you don't understand why you're even doing financial aid forms. And as he's talking about that, you can actually be looking at your dashboard, seeing your SAIs, and starting to probably realize stuff that you maybe didn't even know that helps you put your family in place, which is massively helpful and will relieve stress for you. If you haven't done it, no problem. Just go ahead and get it done. It's free. You can put in up to 3 colleges. You will be able to upload award letters down the road. And for some of you, you might already be getting these if you have a senior. So it's not just to plan your list. It's also to the next steps, appealing, which we're going to tease right at the end and talk about, because after you get forms in, you're not done. Sorry. Then there's appealing. So there's a few more steps, and those are in the software as well. So strongly recommend you get that, set up your free account. All right, Matt, I'll turn it back over to you, buddy.
Yeah, so I think it's really important just to provide some context of, like, obviously we're here to focus on the FAFSA tonight. That's going to be 90% of the presentation. But it's important to understand where this fits in the grander scheme. I've already had a couple of questions. Why should I even care about this if I know I'm not going to be eligible for financial aid? People are telling me I should submit it. Is that true? Short answer is yes, but let's talk about why a little bit here. So let's zoom out. What is financial aid? Financial aid is anything, any discount we get, right? Anytime we're not paying full sticker price at a college, we're getting some type of financial aid that comes in one of three buckets, and the FAFSA is relevant to each one of these. Need-based grants, that's free money based on the result of our FAFSA and in some cases CSS profile, right? And if we're eligible for need-based financial aid at a college, we could get need-based grants, okay, based on, again, our FAFSA largely. Merit-based scholarships, discounts given just based on the student's credentials. What does this have to do with the FAFSA? Some colleges, even if you want to be considered for scholarships, merit-based scholarships, they still require the FAFSA. Okay, and the last type of quote unquote financial aid is what's called self-help financial aid. This is the least advantageous of the three buckets, right? Because in most cases, it's a sexy term for loans, but there can be some positives here and some strategic reasons why we would want to take advantage of those. The number one being the federal direct student loan, which back to FAFSA, if you want to be eligible for it, you have to complete and submit the FAFSA. Go ahead, Peggy. Thanks. So every college is different, guys. If you follow along with Peggy and I, something that we say every day, multiple times a day, every college is different. Every family situation is unique. And so it's very hard to get clarity in this process because of that. So anytime there's a universal rule, we want to be familiar with it. And this is the foundational formula that every single college uses to determine every single applicant's eligibility for need-based financial aid or lack thereof. So that's the cost of attendance, these scary sticker prices, right? There is now dozens, let me say that again, dozens of colleges that cost over $90,000 a year, if you can believe that, right? For most families, that sticker price, okay, is a relevant number. It's deceiving, it's misleading. For most families, how affordable or not a college is predominantly dictated by your student aid index. That is the dollar amount that gets assigned to the student specifically from the results of the FAFSA and the CSS profile, okay? If that dollar amount is less than the cost of attendance, now we're eligible potentially for need-based financial aid. So if a college is $90,000 and our student aid index is $40,000, well, we're eligible for $50,000 potentially of need-based financial aid. What does it mean potentially? Well, some schools, they're great with need-based financial aid, so they'll cover that. You just pay 40. Some schools, they're okay. They'll cover half of that. So you pay 40 plus 25, right? Some schools, they stink. They're not going to pay any of that. So that's where it's very, very school specific, but it all starts with your student aid index. And Peg, I can share my screen quickly here to kind of pull this together. And again, if you want to share the link, I see most of you already created your accounts, which is great. So the first thing that you're going to see that's one of the biggest values of having your free account here is that you're going to see the student aid index staring you in the face. So this is going to be the result. The federal SAI is the result of your FAFSA. The institutional SAI, which is generally a range, is largely driven by your CSS profile. This is usually different because it includes home equity. If you're a split household, divorced or separated family, it'll look at both households. Those are some of the biggest differences. But I just want you guys focused on what are these colleges actually going to cost you? Because as you can see, and this is a pretty down the fairway, standard normal family, what they're actually going to pay at schools are completely different in most cases than the college's sticker price. I also got a question about scholarships tonight, right? Are you going to talk about scholarships? Not really, but I'll just give you kind of 30 seconds here. If you click on any college, it's going to show you every single scholarship that they offer, the qualifications for each, and we're going to tell you how much, if anything, should your kid expect to get. Okay. And then we have, and you can see here, I just clicked into UMass and here's all their scholarships and how much we think that you're going to get. And then we have every private scholarship in the country that's baked into the platform as well. So again, after we're getting scholarships from the colleges, we want to go find some at the local, state, and eventually national level. But again, I hopefully that kind of 5-minute crash course is a little bit helpful because I think it's always important to, even though we're focused on the FAFSA, think about how this fits into the grander scheme, because even though it's all anybody's talking about right now, it's still just one piece of this larger puzzle, and we always want to kind of keep our eye on that ball as well.
All right. So let's keep going here.
Yeah,
There's a few questions about this, so tune in, everybody. Matt's going to share why we strongly recommend, if not basically tell everybody to submit the forms.
Yeah, and I met with two people that had incomes over $1 million annually today and made the firm recommendations for both of them. We had a long conversation and they're in agreement why it's the right thing to do for a couple of reasons, right? Number one, the biggest reason why money gets left on the table is that people disqualify themselves from financial aid by not applying. They just made assumptions that were wrong and cost them meaningful amount of money. Okay. You heard me mention the fact that some colleges, even though we're talking about merit-based scholarships, require the financial aid applications to be considered. NYU is the number 3 most popular college last year in terms of total number of applications. Okay. They're not considering you for scholarships unless you've completed the FAFSA and CSS profile. Okay. If you don't apply for freshman year for aid, you're basically telling that college that we'll pay full sticker price not only this year but all 4 years. We can't change our mind next year if we lose a job, if we have a younger sibling enter college. Okay, so we are at least giving ourselves an opportunity, even if we don't get anything this year, to be considered, down the road if something happens. Which brings me to my next point: appeals. If something changes and we want to push back and ask for more money, or even if something doesn't change, but we want to ask for more, the FAFSA. And then the last one before we kind of click to the next slide and you guys hear from Peggy here. It doesn't matter what my means are, right? I can be that very well-off family that I talked to today. They complete the FAFSA, they are entitled to up to $27,000 worth of federal direct student loans over the course of 4 years. Okay. It's the student that will get that loan. I recommend firmly that every single family take advantage of that for one of two reasons. If you want your kid to have skin in the game, there's no better place to do it than there, full stop. Okay. If you do not, and you have the means to pull that off, okay, still take out that loan, jump through the hoops, the FAFSA, the red tape of the loan, pay that off on their behalf. Now they graduate as 22-year-olds with established credit. So it's a great perk if you have the means to pull that off, right? If you're fortunate enough to kind of fit in that category. But the takeaway for me is you're going to have a hard argument to win with me about why it's not a good idea and not worth the hassle of at least completing and submitting the FAFSA.
All right, so let's get into this. And some of the questions I'm seeing and glitches that people are saying is very common. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you haven't gone into the FAFSA yet, this is the absolute first step, is to create your FSA ID and password. And I'll talk in a minute about different family structures and who needs that on the parent side. The student definitely needs it, and it will be used to sign into the FAFSA. You can't sign in with the date of birth and social security number. This is the only way to do it for the parent that needs to sign in, as well as the student. So get that set up and remember how you have that, because when we get to this section, I'm going to reference this, that when a student is inviting a parent to do their part of the FAFSA, that invitation has to perfectly match your FSA ID. I was working with a mom 2 days ago, back and forth, back and forth, back. And I said, "Are you sure this is how your name is?" And we went and looked, and sure enough, it wasn't. We fixed it, and then it worked. So do this, and then, maybe take a picture of it so that you'll remember. Sometimes if you use your middle name, sometimes you don't, all of that can throw it off. But go ahead and get that done. Go to studentaid.gov, create your account, because it's going to take a few days for the Social Security Administration to check your Social Security number with your date of birth and process it. And that's important, that has to happen. It has to match, is what they call it, before you can submit the FAFSA. So if you haven't done that, you do it right after this webinar. That needs to be done. So as we all know, the FAFSA is live. It is in something called a soft launch, okay? Which a few weeks ago, I changed my slide and it said it can go down. Now it's not supposed to go down. It should be live 24/7, but there still are glitches. And I'm going to when I show some more slides, I'll touch on some of the stuff that people are already writing in the Q&A. This happened, is this common? Yes, there are glitches. I will show you best practice. If you haven't started, please do it the way that I'm suggesting, because we're seeing much less glitching if you do it that way. There's variations between FAFSAs. Some people don't have to put down their assets. Most people do. So just like everything in this process, every family is unique. So your sister's FAFSA might be different than yours. So don't think you did anything wrong if you're asked a question that she is not. Okay. Don't let that cause you any more stress. And if you do get a glitch and it's a known problem, then just go back in and check. They're working on these problems, and they could get it fixed at any time. Sometimes it's just a weird thing, and when somebody logs in the next day, it works. But if it's one of those known glitches, it's probably not going to work until they fix it on the back end. And again, nothing to do with you. So what is the timeline here? Because that does cause stress. People are like, well, I need to get this in. The Department of Ed, FSA, Federal Student Aid, is not sending any information to the colleges until at the end of January at the earliest. And I actually changed the slide to say that because there's a lot of murmurings that it's not going to happen by then. So the whole timeline of how this works is really being delayed. So, and the colleges know this. So even if they have a deadline, and I'm kind of jumping, I have a slide on this later, but if you see a deadline and want on your kids' one of the colleges on the website, I'd pick up the phone and say, hey, if I'm having issues with the FAFSA, is this hard and fast? When we've had this with our families, most of the schools are saying, no, it's not going to hurt aid eligibility if you miss the deadline. They know what's going on. They know it's a mess. They know there's glitches, and there's nothing you can do about it. The FAFSA submission summary, which if you've been around the block with this, used to be called the SAR, the Student Aid Report, which is your whole summary. That's not going to be available to the end of January, and probably will be delayed, is my guess. And if you've heard anything in the media lately, if you pay attention to this, the Department of Ed messed up and did not increase. I'm not going to get in the weeds, but there's a thing called the income protection allowance. Basically reduces your income before they calculate your SAI that Matt was talking about. They didn't put in the increase for inflation and other economic factors. They were getting a lot of grief over it. Now they've decided they are going to fix it. So that's a good thing for all of you, because it could lower your SAI, which will increase your aid eligibility potentially, but it could delay things yet again. Not something to stress about. It's completely on their backs to figure this out. And then the colleges will figure out how they're going to get awards out to you. But it just, more patience, and it could cause delays. So what do you need to do the FAFSA? You're going to need your non-retirement account balances, because as hopefully you all know, when you fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile, only non-retirement account balances are shared. There is a question on the CSS that asks for your retirement account balances. It's not included in the calculation. On the FAFSA, that's not going to come up. So checking and savings and investments, which include real estate outside of your primary home that you live in, so the equity. Don't overvalue your real estate. That's something we can support you on if you're unsure how to do that. Most people are going to barely answer any questions about income. They're not going to be asked their adjusted gross income, their earnings, any of that. It's going to automatically pull into this new FAFSA. And I'm going to talk about contributors in a minute, and that's part of being a contributor. You're consenting for your info to move. So there'll be a few brief questions about income that most people, it's just a no-brainer. You don't have a foreign income exclusion. If you do, you know what that is. Just a bunch of zeros for a lot of people, and you're on to the asset. So most people aren't going to need a tax return. If you're a business owner, you're going to need the value of your business. There's no businesses excluded anymore. But, and this is another thing that people have sought our help for, is what is the value of my business? Is it zero? What is it? You want to be honest on these forms, but you don't want to overvalue real estate, your business. You want to find the lowest defensible value. And then of course you need the list of colleges. You can do up to 20 in the first go round, and hopefully most kids don't have more than 20 just for sanity reasons. So that's a great, it used to be 10 and now it's 20. So that works for most families, but you're going to need that list, obviously. So you're going to go to FAFSA.gov and it'll take you to studentaid.gov/da-da-da-da-da. You're going to see this, click start new form. If you're in there and you're going to go back in, then you're going to do access existing form, okay? Not if you have a sophomore in college, that's starting a new form. But once you start a form for 24-25, then you're going to hit this, okay? So you hit start new form, and then you're going to get this. So as I said earlier, you need to use the FSA ID and password to get into the FAFSA. If you have not started, and please listen if that's you, start here by you can have your child there, you're putting in their FSA ID and password. Don't go and do yours yet. There's a method to our madness. This is the best flow to not have issues. If you already started and you did your part, it's fine, right? If you haven't, that's the way we recommend you do it. So you put in your child's FSA ID and password, okay? This is going to be the flow. That's going to take you into the student FAFSA, because there's two different, there's two parts to the student FAFSA, and some kids might have three. But this is the flow, just if you want to see. There's a personal circumstances section. I'm going to show you this in a minute. The student is going to invite their contributors. It might be one, it might be more than one. Then there's a demographics section, a pretty brief financial section, which is mostly assets. The student, the child puts in the colleges and signs. We recommend you go all the way through this. Invite the parent, hit invite, and keep going. That invite's going to end up in the parent's inbox. That's great. You're going to hit that next. Go all the way through. As long as you've got everything dialed in, you feel good, sign it. The FAFSA won't be done because the contributors need to contribute to the student FAFSA. Okay. Who is a contributor? This might be a new word to you. The first thing I want to share is this is a loaded word. And for most people, it means if I was speaking live, I'd say, what does this mean to you? What are you contributing? And most people would raise their hand and say, money. It doesn't mean that. You don't have to spend a penny on your child's education. But if you don't contribute to their FAFSA and you need to, they will not be eligible for federal, state, and institutional aid at most colleges. So it's really a blow. So we strongly recommend that you do your part and contribute to your child's FAFSA. So the student is a contributor if the student's married and is independent, their spouse. Most people in our audiences, that's not the case. Now, and we had a few questions about this, so listen up for the people that had a question in there. I'm going to skip to the third bullet. If in the prior year, 2022, that's what all the questions are about for income on the FAFSA. If you were married filing jointly and you're currently happily married, one parent is a contributor. The other parent doesn't need an FSA ID, and one parent's going to be invited to go into the parent side of the FAFSA, okay? That's how that works. Pretty simple. You're going to put the other spouse's information in there, but they're not going to be contributing because it makes sense. You're married filing jointly, so there's going to be one consent to move all that data into your part of your child's FAFSA, okay? If we go up to the first bullet, if you're married, remarried, or unmarried living together, which is married in the financial aid world as far as both parents contributing, and you didn't file married filing jointly with your current spouse or partner in 2022, then you are both contributors. Because you have different tax returns. So you have to consent to move that information. People get confused, but if you think about it that way, it's actually logical. And then if for some reason, and some married couples do this, they file married filing separately, which means they have two separate tax returns. They're both contributors for the same exact reason. Both sets of data have to move. Sorry, just give me a sec here. If you are currently divorced or separated, but you weren't divorced or separated and you did married filing jointly, or you were, but you did married filing jointly back then, and now you're not, this is one of the exceptions where you will get tax information asked. You'll get those fields and you're gonna have to enter it manually. You didn't do anything wrong. Actually, the form is working correctly and you're gonna enter it manually. Divorced families, only one biological parent is submitting this form, and that's called the custodial parent, which has always been the case. But the definition of custodial parent has changed. It's the parent that provided the most financial support on a year look back from when you're submitting the form. Not prior year, not 2023. Literally, if you're going to submit it on January 25th, it's a year look back into 2023. So big planning opportunity. If you're 50-50, it really can benefit you to figure out which parent is better to be the one that's the custodial parent. Follow the rules, have that parent spend a little bit more money on the child for that year look back. You're being honest. You're putting your best foot forward when you submit. If you are remarried and you're divorced, your new spouse is on that FAFSA if you're the custodial parent. So it's not just the biological parent. So keep that in mind. And if you need support around this is something we've been doing meetings on with families for a while since this rule came out. Just ping us and we're happy to support you. Matt's going to talk about that at the end. I
All right.
covered this part.
Sorry to break in here, Peggy, but just a
Sure.
reminder for everybody, I know a bunch of people weren't here right at the beginning. Put all your questions in the Q&A. So that's the place that we're monitoring and doing our best to keep up. So just a reminder there, if you put your question in chat, copy and paste it and put it in Q&A. Thank you.
Okay. I already covered this, but it bears repeating in case anybody missed it. Your responsibility as a contributor, if you are one, is to complete your portion of the FAFSA. You are going to be asked to consent and approve. You're not going to miss that. It's part of the flow. And again, you're not responsible for paying for college. You're just responsible to share your information so that the student aid index that Abe, it's my brother-in-law, that Matt talked about, can be calculated. So remember when I showed you in the flow in the student FAFSA, I said there's the personal circumstances and then the invite. This is what the invite looks like. It's going to pop up on the screen. This is where the student invites the parent that needs to contribute. Unless you are told otherwise, you are only putting one parent here. And this should be the parent that created the FSA ID if you're married filing jointly and there's one contributor. The arrow that I put there says kind of small and in italics, do not fill out this section unless otherwise instructed. So don't move ahead and put both of your sets of information. That's going to cause an error. And you want to follow the instructions. You don't want to get into a glitch where you get stuck and you can't move. So fill that in. As I said earlier, make sure however you created your FSA ID and password, this perfectly matches that, or else you are going to get an error and you're going to have to go log back into your FSA ID, see how you did it, and come back in and fix it. Fill in this stuff, same email from your FSA ID, hit send invite. Don't worry about it. It's going to your inbox. You'll go see that when it's time for you to do your FAFSA. Okay. You're going to get an invitation that looks kind of like this. I've seen a few versions. It's good for 45 days. Most people are waiting for it and they're immediately jumping on it. This is how you're going to go into your parent FAFSA. You technically can go to FAFSA.gov and log in with the parent FSA ID and password, but we found that can create glitches. So go through the email, unless for some reason you don't get it. We're not finding that a lot. Go through the email. You'll already be linked to your child. Some of the information that your child already did with you in their FAFSA will auto-populate. Less work for you, already linked, less glitches. So that's the best practice that we strongly recommend. So now you go through the whole student deal. You sign, and then it's going to say, great, you've signed, you're done. Now go over to your inbox and click accept invite, follow the prompts. They're pretty straightforward, and you're going to be right into your demographics and right into your financials. You're going to consent that your information moves, and you're going to sign. It's as simple as that. And it has been flowing pretty well if there aren't these weird discrepancies. I know some people put in the Q&A, we finished our child, but she didn't sign. We went over and did ours, and now we can't get back in. That's happened a lot. That's why I'm asking you to follow this flow. No guarantees it won't glitch. If it's glitched and you did it that way, it's okay. It's not you. It's a known tech problem. Department of Ed knows about it. There's no response as far as all we're hearing is it's something we know about. Resolution is going to happen at some point. So it is good, like I said earlier, to log back in. And if all of a sudden you are allowed to submit, go for it. If it's all done and you got the confirmation page, well, I'll talk about that in a minute when I get to the confirmation page. Just so you have a screenshot, this is what the asset page looks like. Most people are going to see this, but there's some people with income at certain levels that they might not even see this. Checking and savings, current net worth of investment. So this is all of your non-retirement money that's not checking and savings, including, like I said earlier, secondary real estate. If you have a rental property that's not in a business, if you have a vacation home, your primary home is completely, you do not include that, the home you live in, but other real estate, the equity this is all going to be thrown in a big lump. If you did the CSS profile, they break it all out. The FAFSA doesn't. Everything goes in this question that's non-retirement, including secondary real estate, except for checking and savings. If you own a business, the value of your business, like I said earlier, your value could very well be zero. If you're not sure and you're nervous about this, you can book an hour with us. We're going to talk about it. We can cover a lot of other stuff as well as that to help you make sure you're not overvaluing your business, because your SAI will go up if you overvalue your business. So that's the asset page, and it's the same for students and parents. So as I referenced a minute ago, here's the email that your child will get. The student gets this. Once both pieces have been done and signed, this is pretty much instantaneous. The student gets it in their email and it says, hey, we've received your application. In a perfect world, all of this information is there. The submission date, we are seeing that. The DRN number, we are seeing that. But some people are getting, when it says estimated student aid index, it says it cannot calculate because a signature is missing. Some people are like, we signed and it's saying that. So there's different iterations of this. So again, it's a glitch. Make sure you keep this. This is your proof that you submitted it. If down the road a college says, hey, you missed our FAFSA deadline, you can say, hey, no, we didn't. Here you go. We submitted it. It was just, there was a tech problem. And so we didn't have an SAI and it's not showing as complete. All right. So that's the process there. I think I've pretty much covered this, but as far as deadlines, just like everything else in this process, I always tell people, look on the college website because there's a lot of other websites that have deadlines, but really the college, especially now, because they might actually be tweaking them in real time as more information comes out daily about the FAFSA. You don't want to miss a deadline. There's a lot more grace right now, but if you can get it in and get it done, that's the best thing. Get it in and get it done. If there's a glitch, you've got a process date, you got your process date, okay? But in the old world, what we would say is, look at all your deadlines and plan to submit forms several days before the deadline. So if you lose power or something, you're good. Okay. If you're nervous because there's a January 25th deadline and you haven't gotten your FSA ID approval from the Social Security Administration, just pick up the phone and call the school. And I'm sure they're going to say, most schools are saying, yeah, we understand. We understand. We're not going to penalize you for that. All right, so that's the FAFSA. I'm going to turn it back to Matt to hit a couple things before we wrap up here.
Peggy, they're keeping me busy there. I answered 64 questions and counting, so
Hey, no one likes a bragger, and I answered some of those, buddy, when you were talking. So nice try.
Speak for yourself.
Hey guys, and also, feel free to use the emojis in Zoom if you're so inclined. I love that. So,
Uh, well, look, let me just hit on a couple of what are some really common questions, and I'm sure Peggy said this, but I was half listening as I was trying to answer questions. But I think this one bears worth repeating. A ton of the questions have been, we need to make a correction. Our thing is saying it's still processing. We're not sure. None of the FAFSAs have processed yet. Zero. Okay. The most precise date we're hearing is that they're going to process in late January. We're hearing rumblings that that's probably more likely going to be February. But long story short, if a lot of you are feeling like, number one, I need to make a change. Number two, I'm not even sure if it went through. It said it's still processing, loading, whatever. There's nothing you can do right now. Okay, you just have to wait for it to actually process. We are taking the temperature on this thing multiple times every single day, so we will be screaming it from the mountaintops. So just pay attention to what we're doing, follow our socials. We put it out everywhere every day if there's any updates here. So we will let everybody know when it's possible to go in there and make corrections, go to verify that it's been signed, right? A lot of you, if the order of operations was off, might say you're missing a signature, you can't get your SAI. You didn't do anything wrong. Again, kind of same theme we talked about at the top. Sit tight, nothing to do at the moment. Okay. And when in doubt, we'll talk about it. Again, we got a ton of questions. I can't get in touch with anybody at FAFSA, the Department of Education. It's really impossible now. I'm almost I cannot confirm this. Okay. This is just kind of my intuition at this point that they've almost just like given up and been like, look, we can't really serve the amount that's coming in. So we're just going to turn this off for the time being, but we are happy to help you. We'll talk about what that looks like in a second here. So we've hit most of these. Let me review some. Divorce, separated, split household families. The parent that completes the FAFSA is the one that's providing the most financial support. Okay. That is who is considered the parent on the FAFSA. If that parent is remarried, the step parent information goes on there as well. Okay. If you're a divorced or separated family, we firmly recommend you talk to us before you hit submit on that FAFSA. If you already hit submit on that FAFSA, still talk to us. Okay. Same goes if you're going to have more than one kid in college at once. This new rule change is not benefiting most of us. It's just the opposite, but we're on to something in terms of being able to hopefully use that to our advantage still. Business owners, Peggy talked about it. I've been having probably the most meetings with business owners because and to me, this is where I think most people are going to accidentally hurt themselves in terms of need-based aid eligibility. It's very easy to make a mistake here and overvalue yourself. Please talk to us before you submit FAFSA, or even if you have submitted you're a business owner, talk to us because we want to weigh in there. I've seen a lot of business owners write in, I own this amount of a business, this amount of a property, what should I put for a value? Here's the nature of my business, how do I value it? I wish we could give universal answers. One to many here. We got to roll our sleeves up, take a look at your tax returns, ask you a bunch of questions before we can give an informed recommendation there, right? So those are kind of the big ones. And again, I think Peg talked about the fact, or maybe you didn't actually. 529 plans, it used to be that if we had a 529 plans, we include all of our kids that we have saved for. Fortunately, this was one of the good rules. Now we only put the 529 plan for the student in question on the FAFSA, which is great. Okay, Peggy, I think we have one more slide here. Yes, appeals, right? So not negotiating, we are appealing, right? Appealing for more additional financial aid consideration. So I'm just planting a seed here. We're not going to unpack it. We do an hour plus presentations on this whole part of the process. And this is a very important part of the process. The seed that I want to plant is that do not accept that first offer that you get from these colleges, right? Be it merit-based scholarships, be it need-based financial aid, or both. Like any major investment you make, we're not taking that first offer. So number one, you need to know it's a thing. It is absolutely a thing, but there is a method to the madness. It's a little bit unique in how it works in this niche ecosystem. Is not the same as buying a car and negotiating with the dealership. Okay, it is, and that tact will probably backfire in this little sandbox that we play in here. But we need to know it's a thing. Why are we talking about this on FAFSA night? It's relevant for two reasons. Number one, most colleges, they won't even hear your case unless you've completed and submitted a FAFSA. Okay. They don't care if you're appealing for more merit-based scholarship consideration. Number two, let's see, what was my point around appealing with the FAFSA had to be so. Oh, the other one is here. If you had an abnormally good year, higher income in 2022, or there's been a significant change, right? I heard about some significant changes. Okay. We always want to be appealing here, and that could be very meaningful ammunition for that part of the process. Okay, Peg, I know you're banging away on questions here, but I think I can spend some time talking about. Oh, okay, before I do, yeah. So this is just to re-emphasize, if you're going to have more than one kid in school at once, now the new FAFSA formula does not give you any break for that anymore. It's one of the things that we thought was one of the worst changes, in our opinion, was this fact. But there's a little smaller, I guess, less talked about wrinkle in the rule that colleges still have their number one, they're getting this information. It's asked on the FAFSA. Number two, they have the right to consider it in your favor. So we know, and having talked to a lot of these colleges, we know it is going to be means for an appeal, again, if we're a family that fits into this category.
All right, I will stop my share here.
Yeah, and I will pick it up. And so this, guys, let's talk about next steps, because we got a ton of questions around this. And I said, hey, sit tight, bear with us here. Here's what I'm going to firmly recommend to just about everybody. Maybe not everybody, maybe a few guys are straight down the fairway. At a minimum, we firmly recommend that you book an hour to talk with one of us, me, Peg, or anyone on our team. We have the top experts you're going to find in the world. Directors of financial aid at Harvard, MIT, former director at USC, the University of Oklahoma, Denison, BU. I mean, some of the most seasoned folks you're going to find. 7 out of 10 people will make a mistake on financial aid applications that cost their family money. Okay. Don't be one of those people. If you have not submitted the FAFSA yet, book some time with us so we can gut check this thing before you hit go. If you're stuck, if you're glitching, book some time with us. Okay, so we can troubleshoot that with you. We pretty much unclogged every single drain possible so far. So within your MyCap accounts, right? If you haven't set up your account, set up your account. You hit upgrade in the top right corner here, right? If you're on the free version, hit upgrade, or if you're already on our premium version, it'll just say talk to an expert. And then when you do that, okay, you're gonna hit you're gonna select the premium plus expert option. Put in this coupon code, simple20. It expires at midnight tonight. Okay, so we take care of our live audiences. This is about as deep as we'll discount our these hour meetings here. These products. So take advantage of that tonight. Do not overthink it. And if you're a younger parent or you got the FAFSA off, no problem. You can use this meeting at any point over the next year. Right. So if you want us to weigh in on your appeals, if you want to figure out how you're going to pay the bill, you can use this thing at any point. So don't overthink this one, guys. When we're looking at how expensive and what's at stake, don't overthink this one. If you're somebody that just wants more, and this is what I would say, if you're a DIY person, like, look, I'm all over this. We got our arms around it, but I just want an expert to make sure that we're not missing anything. Book this hour. If you're somebody and we're not going to be able to take care of everybody on this package tonight, but I'm sure it won't apply to everybody. If you're somebody that's just like, I want someone to do the CSS profile for me. I want somebody to do the FAFSA with me and for me and get involved with the strategy and the whole thing. We can do that for you. Okay. We only have 2 more of these left. So we're not going to be able to do it for everybody. If you go to and it's 20, same thing, it's 20% off. So what is that? $300 off. If you book it tonight, we only have 2 of these left. So if you're not able to get the form prep package and you want it, write into support@collegeaidpro.com tomorrow. We'll see if we can get you on the waiting list. No promises there. These ones, we can just only do so many. We're not going to run out of the hours, right? And we have a big enough team to be able to meet with you for an hour, but the form prep package, we only have a couple of those that our team can handle at the moment with, we're at capacity, as you can imagine here. So but guys, I do feel very strongly, do one of these, you will thank yourself, right? You are going to get a return on the investment. And you know, we want to help people. We know how frustrating it can be. And you know, I think this is, again, you don't want to think about spending money when you're staring down the face of $90,000, but this is going to be you're going to get a return on the investment. So I would firmly recommend one of the two. What do you think, Peggy? You have anything to add here?
Yeah, I think you stated it well. As I said at the beginning, it's just kind of who you are. If you know, some people are just like, I just can't deal with this, then let us, and you know, we can, you probably said this, but we can actually, if you've done your CSS, we can look it over. You know, collectively on our team, we've looked at 10, thousands and thousands of these over all of our careers, you know, into 5 digits. So we've been around the block. We know where people make mistakes, and it's a huge stressor. As much as I keep trying to get parents to de-stress, it you know, it is a huge stressor. So if that can help you sleep at night, you know, we're here to help. And at the very least, book an hour. The software, as I said earlier, is amazing. You will I've already have parents doing it. I'm like, upload your financial aid award letters that they're starting to get, unofficial ones from the CSS schools, translate them. You know, we know the journey you're on. You're not done. I'm sorry to tell you, when you get through the FAFSA, there's a few other steps here before you're actually, you know, waving goodbye to your child. So let us, you know, let us guide you on this journey. Let us do the heavy lifting if that's what's going to help. But just let us play whatever part works for you, because that's what we're here for. And I don't know that Matt said it, but you know, part of what we always say is, you know, if you don't stay engaged with us, even if it's showing up to the next webinar, we haven't done our job, because we don't want you to say, oh, that was amazing, and go put it on the pile and get back to your busy life. Because you know, people are still asking, even though Matt explained it, like, should I really be submitting these forms? Yes, submit your FAFSA. You know, you could be leaving money on the table, even if you make $1 million, right? And say all of a sudden you don't make $1 million, you might be stuck and not be able to apply for financial aid. So there's just, you know, believe us, we've been through this. I've fought for families that colleges say, nope, your kid's a junior, you can't apply, even though you have need now, you know. So we know what we're doing. Let us guide you in whatever way lands for you, basically. Whatever works with your budget, and whatever, you know, works to help you have peace of mind. And keep following us. We're on social. You can follow us. You can have a Facebook group, Instagram. Matt and I are on there shooting videos. We both have done a few for our social media team that does their magic with our stuff. So we're trying to show up and really educate you. You know, there's just a lot right now. There's a lot going on, and it's hard to decipher what's right, what it means. So let us do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And again, guys, we did our best on the questions as we promised at the top. No way we'd be able to get to all of them. There's several hundred in here, so we did our best. But yeah, if you need some more time with us, book with one of our experts, or jump on to our next webinars. You know, we're doing them frequently for you class 2024 folks. The next thing on the horizon is we'll be talking private scholarships in February for you underclassmen. We will be talking, we're going to have a boot camp, kind of a all encompassing, and just keep an eye out for it. All admissions, all financial aid, all scholarship, you know, A to Z boot camp that'll be happening the week of February 19th. But again, we'll be screaming that from the mountaintop. So yeah, so anyways, hopefully this was helpful for you all, and you know where to find us for anything that did not get answered tonight. And Peggy, as always,
Yeah.
killed it. I thank you.
Yeah. Thank you too, buddy. And everybody, have a wonderful night.
See you guys. Have a great
Take
rest of
care.